on an idea and you're like, oh, do I want it? Do I not want it? You're basically doing this and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Like, because you're not holding it enough.
Right.
There's not enough like inertia for it to start spilling
Yeah.
out. And so manifestation requires consistency,
Yeah.
like consistent action towards a particular vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that example. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm listening to you and I'm like, yeah, it's like sending mixed signals to the universe. Like
Exactly.
you're sending mixed signals to a potential partner.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not 100% sure that you want to be with them, then it's a no because you're flaky.
That's right.
Yeah. Who and exactly what
The sun forsake me and the moon forgave me.
Hi everyone, welcome to The Awakened Journalist. My name is Emiliana Molina. We do conscious journalism for the good of humankind on this podcast, and today's guest has me really excited because he is actually the owner and founder of the studio where we record this podcast. His name is Kirill Ignatieff, and he's also the founder of Human Future Podcast, also the founder of 22 Stories. He's a futurist, also a very spiritual being that loves interacting with technology and building stuff. He'll tell us more about that later. And he's a media enthusiast. Kirill is also a collaborator or very much involved with Miami Made here in Miami, in the heart of our community. So Kirill, welcome, and thank you for being on my podcast in your studio.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's always me interviewing people or people using the setup to do their own shows, and it's rare. In fact, this is the interview number 2. The first one was yesterday, just happened to be with Joe Casanova. He interviewed me for his podcast.
Okay.
So
amazing.
it's I like this role of being interviewed as well. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be interviewed.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to be the number 2.
Well, the number of 1 for women-led podcast, you can say it that way. You know.
Number 1 and
Yeah.
then number 2. And
Yeah.
the only reason I say I'm happy to be number 2 is because I know you have a really special connection to the number 2 and
I
to
do.
the number 22.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. It all started where my kind of the specialty of the number came when my wife and I met, and we recognized that both of us are born on the 22nd, and we're like, yeah, that's cool, that's cute. But then there were so many more serendipitous moments that happened around the number 22. So, for example, when we moved to Miami so we met in California, and then she convinced me to move to Miami because she grew up here, and took her a few years to massage me and prepare me mentally to move here. But finally it happened, and we were looking for a place to live. We were just looking for best location, best price, whatever variables you consider. The 22 theme was definitely not in the picture at all. But we ended up living on 2nd Street and 2nd Avenue intersection, just happened to be, and since then there's so many other like crazy moments like that keep happening to us, where 22 is just we interpret it as this guiding pole, or let's say when you're on the hike and you maybe got lost, and then all of a sudden you see this pole that says 5 miles there, and so you're on the right track. Basically, that shows you're in the right place, you know where to go. And so every time there's 22 or 11, any of those things, we interpret it as like the universe telling you're on the right track. What you're doing is you're doing the right thing, type thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Because I'm also very connected to angel numbers. And I have a very special connection to the 222 and 1111 and 444. And actually, I always wear a necklace that has the 222 on it. One of my friends gifted it to me. I'm not wearing it today, but it's a reminder also that, I'm on the right track. And when things in my life are kind of going a little bit sideways or chaotic, it's like harmony,
Amazing.
harmony,
Wow.
because it's a master number. So very connected to angiology and numerology.
I guess I also forgot to mention that my wife and I proposed on 22nd, obviously planned. Then we we started dating on the 22nd. That's an important piece of information on my birthday on 22nd.
Okay.
Then I proposed on 22nd. Then we got married on 22nd. So the
Okay.
other two obviously were planned, but
Yeah.
then, there's so many more 22 theme that happened since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now I gotta ask, if you asked her out on your birthday,
Yeah.
do you get a birthday present, an anniversary present, or does
Oh.
she mix them in one?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good. Well, our anniversary present is when we got married,
Yeah.
right? So that's a different date, luckily,
Okay.
I guess, than
Okay.
when we actually started dating.
Yeah.
The day when we started dating, we don't really like celebrate per se, because
Okay.
that's a good question though. We haven't really like brought as much significance to the day when we met,
When you met. Okay,
which
gotcha.
I'm sure some people do, right?
Yeah,
It's kind
some
of an
people
important
do.
day, I guess. Yeah.
Some people do, but you're right. Some people just celebrate, when they accomplish a year together or
Yeah.
something later down the line.
Yep.
But obviously, if you're celebrating your anniversary from your wedding, that's important too.
Yeah.
Kirill, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Where you are from originally, and who is Kirill aside
Yeah.
from all the titles.
Yeah, thank you. So originally from Belarus, post-Soviet Union, moved to the States in 2008 and moved with, $300 in my pocket, didn't really speak any English. It was a small little town in North Carolina called Kill Devil Hills on the coast. That was the first place where I arrived, and I was a dishwasher at the small little restaurant. That was my first job, and then it all started there, and since then, that summer, at the end of that summer, I moved to California because I didn't come to the United States to just have kind of an average or just like a somewhat okay lifestyle. I wanted to shoot for stars. I wanted the best possible case scenario in my life. That, in fact, that's always been kind of like my way of. I don't know at what point did I read about the book The Secret, but the best case scenario outcome. I knew that it's always like somewhere in the possibility range, and I would go for that. I wouldn't settle for something average. And so, since then I moved to California, and then, lots of things happened. But, the important thing is start as a dishwasher, then went to some years later, went to good business school, UC Berkeley. Was really lucky, honored to be accepted to such a great school. Then worked in corporate America, high caliber individual corporate leaders of Fortune 100 companies. Worked for a big consulting firm, Deloitte. From the dishwasher boy, not knowing anything, to sitting in conference rooms with these like high level executives. It took me maybe 8 something years, and it was a very interesting perspective to be in. I would remind myself, like, being in those rooms, like, holy moly, like this is happening. Like I was just in a very different circumstances, and I guess it's all in my power to shape my reality in the way I desire. It's just another confirmation. I mean, there's an interesting story actually that I like to share. When I was a kid, something really interesting happened actually. When I was a kid, lived in Belarus in this small little. So my family was kind of middle class, by American standards, considered poor family. It didn't really have much, and I remember we had a few video cassettes, VHS cassettes with films, with movies, and maybe like 5 or 7, not much, like that, just a handful of them. And I would often come from school earlier before my parents get home, and I would kind of not yet go back to studying. I would just like watch TV or like watch some movies, and I would watch one of the movies more often than anything else, but just because I really liked the story. I liked the lifestyle that people were having, and the movie is called Boys and Girls, and it was translated into Russian, and I would watch it many times, and just because it was a story about this boy and a girl being students of some school of some country. I didn't really know much about the world at that point. I was just like, wow, they're having that type of experience. I have something very different. I wish at some point in my life I would love to experience something similar.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that idea kind of stayed with me. I then went to go to college in a different city. Many years passed. I didn't really remember much about the movie. I just remembered this idea as like, wow, it would be nice to have this kind of experience at some point. And there was one small detail about the movie that I've remembered. It was this big red bridge on the background of one of the episodes of the movie. And so many years later, I was on the plane to San Francisco. So that was already, I've arrived already into the States, and I was on the plane to San Francisco, and this memory was coming up like, holy shit, like I think that's the bridge from the movie, that boys and girls movie. And so that realization, I manifested it in my life, that it is real to bring something into existence what you truly believe in, and give it enough time for it to solidify and manifest it in your reality. But the crazy part is that that wasn't the end of the story. When I was at UC Berkeley studying, I mentioned that same kind of cute little story to one of my friends there, and she never heard the movie. It's not a very popular movie. It is an American movie though. She was curious enough to go find the movie and watch it. And next day, she told me the boy and the girl from the movie were UC Berkeley students. Can you imagine? I was already at UC Berkeley. I haven't watched the movie in like more than 10, like, I don't know, 15 years, long time. I didn't remember anything from the movie. Of course, I didn't remember that they were part of UC Berkeley. That's not why I went to UC Berkeley. Absolutely not. But I was already there when I recognized, like, holy camole, this is real. When I watched it again, I cried because most of the moments of the movie, I would either be doing the exact same thing that those people in the movie were doing, or I knew exactly where they are. Like, because it was shot on campus, like I knew exactly where they are.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I got chills everywhere.
Totally, yeah. So that's an interesting story that happened to me. And then so the corporate ladder, I started climbing that ladder, and then somewhere along the way, I recognized that this is not the right ladder, that I would look at my partners at the consulting firm, and I didn't see myself being in their shoes in, let's say, 10, 15, whatever number of years. And I knew that that's not the path that I wanted to pursue long term. It was an amazing one to start off and like have that exposure, but I didn't see myself long term there. And so I started like brainstorming and figuring out what else would I want to do. And again, the idea of shooting for stars for the best case scenario. Photography was a big hobby of mine. I never knew that I would pursue it as a full-time career, because oftentimes we see they say starving artist or starving photography. It's kind of like almost part of the belief that if you are pursuing that path of becoming a creator, most likely you're going to have a fairly challenging financial kind of life. It absolutely doesn't have to be that way, but there's this preconception there that I was also kind of battling with, and that's why I didn't go that route in the first place. I was like, it's a scary route because it's not a clear path of, let's say, becoming financially free, or being able to afford anything that your wishes and desires and can anyway. So I knew that time is running out, though. I knew that I can't be, the longer I stay in the corporate track, the harder it is going to be for me to leave that corporate track, especially when you start, having a family, having kids, buying a house, this and that. You can't just drop everything like that. It's going to be a lot more painful because the inertia of your life is just, it's much harder to leave that world. And so I finally pulled the trigger and decided, okay, this is it. I'm going to start driving Uber while I figure out my other business. That's what I did. That was eventually I had to go back to corporate part-time because the driving Uber plan wasn't a great one, because I thought it would be like a part-time thing while I do something else, and it was just very volatile, unstable, and I had to like basically work full-time, and that lost the whole purpose of like, why did I leave a great full-time job to this full-time job? I still don't have time for creativity. It wouldn't allow me to like, and so yeah, that's a long answer for you. But somewhere along the way, we moved to Miami basically, and I opened the studio with photographies being the main skill that I was developing, working with a lot of different people, and I've recognized this notion that the majority, 99% of everyone that I worked with, would feel uncomfortable being in front of the camera, right? Like when people see the camera, they freeze, they feel intimidated, and that is because later I kind of realized it all, like doing some research and understanding more how that works, is we all have this primal instinctual part of us that's constantly scanning the environment around yourself and looking for potential threats. It's the part that keeps you alive. In case there's a tiger coming your way, you're always alert, you're always like scanning and make sure nothing is in your field. And camera just happens to trigger that response because you feel seen, you feel exposed, you feel vulnerable. And so that's why people get in, not even only people, even animals do the same thing. When my dogs are playing and I try to take a video of them, they're like freeze a little bit. And so I started really bringing, starting working towards like, how do I capture the most natural, authentic versions of people? Because by doing that, I also saw a bigger vision for it, is to build bridges between people and create more unity. The more authentic you show up in front of other people, and especially like in the digital domain, it's another kind of layer of how to show you're showing up in front of potentially millions of people. And the more authentic you can show up, the you're contributing to the notion of creating more unity in the world.
That's so true. That's so true. You touched on multiple
Yeah.
really important topics.
Sorry,
there
yeah, I
that
did. I talked for a while there.
You're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, yeah,
You're good.
yeah.
I was actually really excited watching you speak because right before we went on camera, we were doing a workshop together. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go into the details of it,
No.
but we were working on expressing our heart's truth. And I was hearing you speak, and I was getting the chills as you were speaking, sharing your story, especially the UC Berkeley story.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is mission complete. Like we achieved something big today. You know,
Awesome.
that to me is part of my purpose, guiding people to voice their heart's truth on camera, and so is yours, making them feel comfortable doing it. So it's like,
Thank you. Yeah.
perfect match. But I wanted to touch on two of the things you mentioned. One is, you know, the UC Berkeley story and the manifestation. For those people that don't know, you and I are both very spiritual. What does manifestation mean to you, and how do you create that life that you want to live?
Yeah, so manifestation is this process of converting, and something originally originates as an idea, as a concept in your head. It's this subtle version of it that doesn't have this physical the only physical representation is the neurological firing in your brain that could be measured. That is a physical thing that could be measured, but that's as real as that, you know. And then you start acting on the world and you moving your body. That's another version of converting that subtle idea into the physical reality. So that whole process basically is bringing that full vision into the 3D reality through your body, through your voice, communicating it to other people, and then they starting acting on your ideas, and you start to, that's one way. I think there's another way of, even without having people in place, you are affecting the fabric of reality, and it starts to form in the way that's resonant to your emotions, and it's both negative and positive. So being very careful with how you project your thoughts and what emotional charge you have with that. They always say, like, don't say I don't want something, because there's a specific negative charge about this thing that you don't want, because that will actually manifest that in fact it's even a stronger a stronger emotional charge towards that. So yeah, that's basically to give you a shorter version. Manifestation is a process of bringing something from the ethereal domain into the physical domain through intention. Yeah, that would be the definition, my definition.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, bringing it from the ethereal to the
Physical.
physical. very
Yeah.
valuable way to put manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
And to add to that, I think now that I hear you and reflecting back on what you're saying, like, I guess for me, because I'm like, wait, how do I explain manifesting to somebody that doesn't understand it? It's, yeah, bringing those ideas, those thoughts or desires into the physical world through not only your intention or intentional thoughts, and also through your emotion, which is
Yeah.
what you were saying. That
Yeah.
if you add a positive emotion to it, like joy, it can occur even faster.
That's right. Yeah.
Which goes back to the experience that Kirill had with watching the movie.
Yeah.
Is he thought about it, he released the thought, he didn't worry about the how that was going to happen.
Yeah.
He just left it up to the universe, and then eventually it did occur.
Yeah, there's this other concept that I like to introduce. So for a while, I was obsessed with lucid dreaming, just dreams, and when you become aware of your dreams and while you're dreaming. And what I realized that in dreams in general, when you think of something, it appears instantly, right? It's almost like an instant manifestation, even though there's no physical reality. It's all like you are in this ethereal space, but it feels like you are manifesting it. And so comparing the dream reality with the physical reality, and then attaching water to the dream and honey to the physical. So when you have a cup full of water in the dream reality, when you do this, the water just spills over right away, instantly. And then in the physical reality, it's this thick honey. If you do it this way, nothing happens for a little while. And also, if you're uncertain, if you're going back and forth on an idea and you're like, oh, do I want it? Do I not want it? You're basically doing this and nothing happens. Like, because you're not holding it enough. There's not enough like inertia for it to start spilling out. And so manifestation requires consistency, like consistent action towards a particular vision.
I love that example. I feel like I'm listening to you and I'm like, it's like sending mixed signals to the universe.
Exactly.
Like you're sending mixed signals to a potential partner. If you're not 100% sure that you want to be with them, then it's a no, because you're flaky.
That's right.
So same thing with your thoughts and what you want to manifest into reality. You gotta have clarity, which clarity is so valuable. And we were talking about clarity earlier today as well in our workshop, and then really from that space, bringing the intention with the emotion to create it in your life. And something really valuable is, we don't know what we don't know until we know what we know. And we don't know what we don't know, what we want, until somebody else shows it to us sometimes. So it's like we don't know what's possible until we see it in someone else achieving it sometimes, and then from that space we can create our own way and move forward. But it's really valuable to kind of allow ourselves to be guided by that inner intuition, and also by people that have already achieved some part of what we want to accomplish, right? For you, like the corporate world, that wasn't it. So it was a very clear, no, this is not my route, so then what is? And then the second point that I wanted to touch on from our previous conversation, I know it's been a minute, but bringing it full circle is very interesting. So I also quit the news industry, and created my own business, and I'm still pedaling to kind of bring it to fruition and to flourish. It's been a work in process, but I actually haven't said this publicly. Only my family knows this, but I also Ubered for a little bit after quitting the news industry. Oh man,
there's no shame there,
I know, but I used to feel so much shame, and I felt so much shame when I went into doing it the first day. I remember I was just like Ubering, like crying my eyes out, like what am I doing with my life? What has this come to? But I think that now that I'm expressing it, like no shame at all. Not attached to the emotion. It's like we're all doing the best we can with the knowledge and the tools that we have. And that was an experience that I needed to kind of like get myself moving and really creating the life that I wanted to live, right? And it was not Ubering. So
Totally.
thank you for sharing that, because you
Yeah.
reminded me of my own experience and
Awesome. Yeah.
how hard that was for me in that
You know,
time.
for me, making the decision of driving Uber wasn't maybe as challenging because I already had an experience of being a dishwasher.
Okay.
And maybe that experience was even harder for me to, well, yeah, because I was coming from corporate, maybe it was also challenging to just leave that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a reference that, you know, I've been in worse, like, kind
Yeah.
of
Situations.
financial situations or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think for me, what was really hard was that this was like right after quitting White House correspondent. So I was really going through a death of my ego and my
Yeah.
titles. And so that was brutal, because back in high school, and then actually after quitting the news industry as well, I did work at restaurants in high school. So I had to do the dishes all the time as well.
Yeah.
But then when I was done with Ubering, I was like, I need just a part-time to get me going. And I ended up working at Yoga Joint for a little bit, maybe like 8 months, something like that. And so that I could get free yoga classes as well and didn't have to pay for a membership.
Nice.
But that required cleaning bathrooms. And so that was like, all right, clearly, like, it was 2 very difficult experiences right after quitting being in the White House.
Yeah.
And it was also very humbling. Very, very humbling. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like life was really reminding me of, hey, like, you were at the top. Now you're feeling like you're at the bottom. And what are you going to do when you get back up to the top? How are you going to work towards that with integrity, with values, with principles, etc.? I'm not saying that I wasn't back then, but there was definitely a lot of room for more truth, you know, and I mean, every experience is perfect as it is too. Like, I don't want to judge past versions of myself, because in that moment and while I was working in the news industry, that was my truth.
Yeah.
And also the way that I see reality now is extremely different and much more conscious, much more aware.
Of course.
So we're in a very different space where, you know, no judgment to the news industry and no hate, but I'm choosing to communicate from a different space now.
Of course. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my experience. Thank you for sharing that, because you opened this up in myself.
Amazing.
As
Yeah.
well.
I'm glad that you finally shared. I mean, again, there's nothing to be ashamed of, and I think that's a big part of your story, that you were willing to go as far as, you know, like drive an Uber or like doing something low skilled worker would do, and being so like high caliber professional wouldn't allow, oftentimes that wouldn't be like a thing that people would even consider remotely.
Yeah, and I think it's you know, whenever we're going through challenges like this, and I know you've gone through it as well, because moving from one country to another on its own is a whole really difficult, heartbreaking experience. And what I've come to understand, and the wisdom I've integrated in myself today, is this gives us like a full spectrum of experiences in life, where we can now kind of live with 2 different ideas or 2 completely polar opposite experiences, but really finding balance in the middle, you know, because we've experienced a lot.
Yeah. For sure.
And so thank you for sharing that. Kirill, is there anything that you want to share with the people that are hearing us today, while you were going through that transition from corporate to building your own business, and how you are actually making a stable income for yourself, and like how long it took you to get to that space of creating like inner stability to have that be reflected in your finances?
It actually took, once I had the space, well, it originally started from like working out of my own apartment, like a studio, loft studio here in Miami. Once I had the space, it didn't take as long as I thought it would, mainly through SEO, like search engine optimization. I was tech savvy, and I felt like Miami was kind of behind because I come from Silicon Valley, and I had this mind of like hacking things and figuring out what do I need to do technologically to be kind of ahead of the game. And so that's what I basically taught myself how to do search engine optimization, build a website. And 6 months later, I was already getting organic clients. I was already ranking on Google. People were already finding me. So it's like, oh, this is working. And so I just started doing more and more into like reviews and updating the website and other things. So, I mean, it took like solid maybe year and a half, 2 years for me to start feeling, okay, now it's actually generating revenue. And the good thing is that I tapped into already existing market. Headshot's been around for a while. It's not something new. I didn't have to, the people are already problem aware, or so there are different stages when you're approaching a client. That somebody might not be problem aware even first. So the first time you communicate with them, you're first telling them there is a problem, and they're, oh yeah, that's right. And then there's solution aware if they know that there's a solution. So for me, it was easier, at least in the headshot business, is that everyone already knew what headshots were, and they were just Googling for like headshot studio in Miami. If you're starting a brand new business that doesn't really have any like similar services out there, I think it's a lot harder. Like for new services, new companies, it's a very different approach how you like build that business, reach out to people's sales and other things. Yeah, I mean, the advice that I would give to anyone who is starting, I mean, I can only speak from the experience of starting a local business, is provide the best service you possibly can, and ask people to have a system to consistently ask people to leave a review. At the beginning, I would even ask people, hey, you can use these words in your review, because I knew that what they say in the review also mattered. So that was kind of a hack as well. I've also discovered that texting, like communicating with people through text, is like 10 times better than communicating through email, because you get a personal touch, you get like a 100% response rate. And whenever you're asking someone to leave the review through a text, the rate of them leaving a review is like through the roof. Like they for sure will leave the review unless you provided a shitty service. Right. Yeah. And so, if you're starting a business, just first do it for free to people that have anyone around, in exchange for a review. Have a website, put all of the description. Now that we have the privilege of using ChatGPT that can actually generate the entire text for your website that's SEO optimized, that we didn't have that before. But now you could easily just spin out the website. Like there's so many services, and off the ground, like off.
Thank you. Those are amazing hacks.
For sure.
Yeah. Alrighty. Kirill, and before we say goodbye, so I love your podcast, Human Future. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Or Future Human, right? I keep getting it.
Human Future. Human Future.
Human Future.
Human
okay.
Future,
I was like, did I get it backwards?
Yeah. HF.
Okay.
Yeah.
Human Future.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask you, what are we kind of co-creating together? What can we expect for the future as humans? And you're playing a big role in taking us there with the new media. Flourishing and having these conscious spaces to talk about and share our stories. So
thank you for that question. The future is bright, actually. The future is exciting. The future is abundant. The future is also us being integrated deeply with our tools that serve us. And by serving us, I mean they bring us closer to our humanity. They expand what it means to be human. They promote deep human connection, authenticity, community. living in alignment with yourself and nature. We are technologically advanced and spiritual beings at the same time. Oftentimes, those two things are kind of like polar opposites, and I see the future in which we utilize technology to promote our connection to spirit, for expansion of our consciousness, and not to put technology in the pedestal or in the center of it. In fact, the most advanced technology, I think, is the one that's least noticeable. It's the one that's on the background, just serving us. It's kind of like in our brain, there's so many processes that happen that just serve us. You don't have to think about so many things. You don't have to think about how to beat your heart, for example, or how to breathe, right? They're just happening on the background. And I think that's the ultimate state of technology that's just serving us, and that brings us to the new platform of evolution, where we can don't have to worry about so many things, like being oversaturated with content or information. It will allow us to only receive what we need for our ultimate health, for our ultimate state of consciousness. And so, yeah, and I see media playing a major role of us getting to that type of future, because it's an amplifier of the vision, of the messages. It's like this megaphone or a magnifying glass, and figuring out. That's why I'm so kind of like obsessed about automating and streamlining the thing, because then you can scale it. Then you can have, just create portals through which high vibrating individuals, those who talk about the big ideas, that the visions of the future, and we just blast that into the digital domain. If you think about it, so people talk about AI now, and a lot of people kind of afraid of AI and say, oh, it's going to come and destroy us or something like that. AI is just a representation of what is out there online, right? And all of us are participating in what is online. And so, and if you look at the graph of how much content we've been putting out over time, it's an exponential curve. So let's say 5 years from now, every day we'll be producing so much more content than we've produced, in the last 10, 20 years, right? So, and AI, the future versions of the AI will be trained on that latest data set, right? And so that's why it's so important for everyone to have this intentional mind. Every time they communicate your best intentions into the world, because we are training the global mind to have that same intentions. You're contributing to that.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I was talking to a friend about ChatGPT too, and we both agreed that it's like channeling for the masses. So it is the representation too of unity consciousness. Yeah. Right? I mean, the more we put content out there that is conscious, that is elevating humanity, that is high vibration, that is what we're going to create for the future human.
That's right.
The more negative content we put out, well, then that's what you're creating.
That's right.
Hence why new media like yourself is starting to flourish even more. And old traditional news outlets are kind of dying off and fading off a little bit. There was just a massive amount of layoffs recently as well in major news outlets. So thank you for your work, your mission, your purpose, for bringing it to life, and then for supporting me as well and bringing my vision to life, and and allowing me to have this space to record my podcast.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thank you for seeing me. Thank you for providing the platform for me to express like that as well. I'm excited for our future collaborations. There will be a lot coming. And yeah, thank you.
Yay!
Yeah.
That was beautiful. And exactly what's
the sun forsake me and the moon forgave me.